Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 multiplayer action. We're here with another Empire, of course. This is Dov Plays. It's actually not my army though, hence no Pistoliers. This is, once again, Flying Taco versus KARL. So, we've got a very fun Empire build here. Front line is going to be a mix of spearmen and swordsmen. He's got some flagellants as well, a couple of archers for some cheap missile fire, Jade Wizard, and 3 units of REIKSGUARD, with KARL Franz leading the way up in the air, and of course, our favorite Hellblaster on wheels, the Black Lions. For the Greenskins, they're going to be led by Azag, Mr. the Slaughterer, who just got punched in the face by KARL and is now going to run away. He's got goblins, night goblins in the front lines, 1 unit of black orcs, couple trolls, some nasty skulkers, 4 boy biggins, forest goblin spider riders, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Looks like the same over on the far side, and we do have 2 vanguard units of night goblin fanatics up on the high ground. Looks like a spirit leech going down on those black lions, and they have already done some really good work against this unit of black orcs here. You can see they are very low on HP, and oh man, just brutal armor-piercing missile fire coming in, just shredding a whole bunch of those unit models. And those are a bit more red than black now. But yeah, should be interesting. The Greenskins, not having any artillery here, are a bit forced up, to advance up this hill, which is a little bit of a tough position to be in. Had they potentially brought some Doom Divers, then they could have deployed a little bit on the low ground and maybe forced the Empire to advance. But we'll see how they do here. Across the line, these Greenskin unit's going to be getting into the fight here. Wah will be popped very shortly, and there it goes as these trolls start to just destroy those brave Sons of Sigmar. Of course, the missile fire will start to support in just a moment here. You can see the archers shooting this unit of trolls, another archer shooting this unit of trolls, and the Black Lions also firing. Some Fanatics dropping downhill, though, through the archers. That is a beautiful Fanatics cast. Unfortunately, the REIKSGUARD did spot them and just immediately just crushed them with a devastating charge. Obviously, the 8-peak loonies won't rout, but they still did basically get deleted from the game. Meanwhile, on the low ground here, these spears suffering pretty badly to squig herds and goblins. KARL is coming over to his men, having been chasing over to Azag. He definitely needs to be brought over to his men. Very nice smoke bomb there, catching those REIKSGUARD. Unfortunately, didn't hit KARL, though, and he is going to drop in here for a very nice rear charge, terrifying away these trolls and nasty skulkers. Over here, the REIKSGUARD get a good rear charge, rout those goblins there. Azag drops in for a quick hit and run on KARL, trying to distract him. Those black orcs are continuing to slug it out in the front line, but here come the Borbigans again, charging uphill into a relatively rough situation with some good overwatch fire from those archers. And the archers against Greenskins, because the Greenskins tend to lack armor generally on most of their units, the archers can generate really, really good value here. And that Hellblaster as well, the Black Line, still online up on the high ground. Overcast Doom and Darkness here, looking to terrify away some of those Empire state troops, but they will not rout. Of course, the Flagellants, no leadership, won't rout either, but the REIKSGUARD are collapsing. That being said, Greenskins have a pretty good push coming over on this side. You can see the REIKSGUARD are starting to run out of HP in certain pockets, but the balance of power definitely not looking great for the Greenskins at the moment. This pocket down here, these squigs were left a little overlong and are now enraged into that situation there. A little bit resource overload, if you will. But yeah, the Greenskins still trying to push the high ground. Azag drops down to harass the Black Lions. Unfortunately, they've already got a lot of work done. 79 kills, a lot of those coming against Black Orcs as well. Really, really excellent play here. And yeah, KARL, of course, being the absolute menace that he is not going to allow Azag to sit and fight anywhere, because, of course, KARL will absolutely beat the brakes off of him. And this is the real downside of this Greenskin build, is there's not too many tools for dealing with KARL, even from the outset. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I do think that this is going to be a relatively tough matchup for the Greenskins. We'll talk a bit more about theory crafting after the fact, but KARL, standing resolute, Gonna say hello to... Oh, nope. Azak drops down right below him, right into these black lines here, and I'd imagine KARL will respond very shortly. Beautiful downhill charge by these REIKSGUARD, straight into some goblins. That will do devastating damage, and REIKSGUARD, again, excellent pick here because of their good combat stats. They have higher melee defense and armor than, you know, your Empire Knights, so they will do quite well. Azak gets ganged up on by KARL and a bunch of REIKSGUARD, and that will pretty much be it. Just a handful of 8-peak loonies getting run over by REIKSGUARD, so that's it. Good stuff. Relatively quick battle, but an interesting one nonetheless. I do think for Flying Tacos build, we'll get into this in just a minute. For Hyala Nala, I do like this build quite a bit. You have KARL to provide your terror, the REIKSGUARD you can see just devastate, especially on a downhill charge. Greenskin infantry, but even charging uphill into those two Vanguard Night Goblins still did a ton of damage. Vanguard ended up being a pretty rough situation. Obviously, having those two Night Goblins with his main formation would have made it just a little bit wider. I do see what he was going for there, but the three REIKSGUARD just protecting the back line was too much. Obviously, the Black Lions, I think this is one matchup where they will be a pretty decent pick. Still relatively risky, as they can get caught out pretty easily, but Flagellant's not bad here either. State Troops kind of getting run over, but honestly, these days when it comes to Flagellants, I prefer just ranked up swordsmen to be around the same price. They're obviously not unbreakable, but they do have very good leadership. They just have much better defensive stats, so they're not going to take as much damage as quickly. That being said, against, you know, light stuff like Skulkers and Goblin Fanatics, regular goblins, they will trade quite well. Archers, as I said, very good pick here just to provide that missile fire. As for the Greenskins, up against the Empire, I do think this is going to be a tough matchup for the Greenskins just from the outset. I haven't really got to play it too much from this side, but just sort of theory crafting around some things. Azak is a pretty common pick, and you will see him a lot in competitive play. I typically don't use him just because I like to go with other options, but let's have a look here. Skarsnik is a pretty decent pick here, I believe. If you use Tricksy Traps, you can make him unspottable. It's only for 29 seconds, but if you're really worried about getting missile sniped with Skarsnik, you could consider bringing this. Alternately, you can bring nothing on him, and he is very cheap. That's one of his main upsides. He's also got charge defense against large, so it's a little bit harder for KARL to goon him. Doesn't have the most armor, but pretty decent melee defense and anti-large armor piercing with a plus 30 bonus versus large, meaning that he hits for 78 melee attack at large targets, which can be quite decent, especially considering the cost. I really like Skarsnik in this matchup. As for the rest of the army, I am not a fan at all of Orc Warboy Biggins. That being said, you do need to try and contest the Cav game somewhat against the Empire, because that Black Lions is a pretty significant threat. But, you know, you could go with Skarsnik, and he would be pretty decent with a build like this. But honestly, these days, I may consider going with a full-on all Vanguard build against the Empire. I have had some success doing this with the Beastmen recently, and I've had success in the past with the Greenskins. Basically, the idea is you just overload with a ton of numbers. Now that you can't bring Regiments of Renown, you do have to be a little bit more choosy about which ones you bring. Rather than bringing the Rusty Heirs, I'm going to take the two in the front line, the Warlords Boys, and we should probably turn on unit caps here. The 8-peak Loonies as well. Like having both of them in the front line. So we're not going to bring the Rusty Heirs for armor sundering. However, I will bring the Durkit Squigs, just because for $750 over a regular Squig unit, that is one of the most cost-effective Regiments of Renown in terms of like chevrons. So Squig Hoppers are also immune to psychology, so they can help screen you know, big, scary birds or whatever, you know, like KARL or Boris, whoever's up on the big, scary, even the War Altar. They are immune to psychology. Not the best melee defense, so they won't last a long time, but they can at least hold them in place for a little bit. They do also have decent AP, not the best combat stats in general, but enough armor piercing that, especially with some buffs, they can do some decent damage against Empire heavy cavalry if they find themselves there. As for the rest, previously I would say for sure you want to add the Morgub's Mangy Marauders. You may even consider cutting the Durkit Squigs and adding the Mangy Marauders for their AP missiles anyway, because they are very good here. And then just filling out with some additional units. Obviously we need a caster, so we're going to grab a Gobbo, the Not Goblin Shaman of course with Vanguard. We're going to keep Sneaky Stealing to steal magic from the Empire Caster, and then probably going to go with Sneaky Stabbin' and Itchy Nuisance. You could also consider Goracle Fix-It if you want to stop up Empire Cav charges and help them not be quite so devastating against your Gobos. You could definitely consider taking that. And then from here, we are going to grab 2 Spider Riders, just the regular melee Spider Riders, to harass the backline. And then obviously we still have quite a bit of points left, so we're going to come in here and just dump chevrons into most of these Gobos. Of course, the chevron algorithm was changed. The formula, if you will, was changed recently to favor melee attack and defense evenly. Previously, it was more defense than attack. But yeah, something like this, just because you're going to be able to get on the Empire troops so quickly and just very much overwhelm them with numbers, potentially force some micro mistakes, and really get on top of their high value units that they want to protect, because you have such a wide build and you're going to start out right in your opponent's face. You can definitely get some things done there. If you want to go with a Vanguard Lord, who is survivable in his speed, but he is very squishy. I like the Goblin Great Shaman sometimes here. If you take him on the Wolf, he has evasion, so he's very, very fast. He can dodge around. He is very squishy, but with the same spell loadout, you do get a little bit of advantage in terms of points. So you could come in here and say grab one more ranked up Spider Rider. And I will point out that at 508, the Spider Riders with 35 melee defense, 26 attack, poison, good speed, they're actually a really nice choice. We still have some chevrons here, so I may consider dumping a few of them onto the Squig Hoppers. I'd be curious to see what your guys' experience is, like kind of which units are more worthwhile to chevron here. Previously, I would pretty much do it this way with some chevrons on the infantry units, and then also some chevrons on the Spider Riders, usually not on the Squigs, just because they tend to run away relatively quickly anyway. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I'm definitely curious to try this now against the new Empire tools to see how it does, but I do think that playing this super, super aggressive, I mean, obviously, the element of surprise is one thing, and if your opponent expects this, you may just get face charged by a whole bunch of knights, which could potentially be bad. But, you know, you do have some tools if you kind of layer things the right way, get some Skulkers, get some Squig Hoppers, pop a wall right off the bat, and potentially lure your enemy heavy cav into a bad position. Could be very good. I will say with the Goblin Great Shaman, taking this Crown of Command is probably worth it, so I might come in here and actually cut some chevrons down and get that, just to make sure that, like, if a specific unit needs to hold and not run away, you do have that, which of course is very useful for goblins. But yeah, I've rambled on long enough about this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.